What's going on, Two Nicks Chicks fam? Welcome back to another episode of Two Nicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef. I'm joined by my co-host this evening.
Relax 21. What's up?
Another day, another day we get to talk about basketball, and today we'll be diving into the New York Liberty, who actually lost to Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever because they're not just the Indiana Fever, they're Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Um, Liberty lost to them, which was a close game, but I thought the Liberty played their style, but I thought one, they got up to a slow start in the first quarter. They were getting blown out. I think the score was like 1-12. First quarter, not under a panic. The Liberty were able to regain themselves in the second and third quarter. And then I thought just the defense was a little lazy and lackluster, not enough boxing out, too much watching. I felt like I don't know. And I don't even feel necessary that the Liberty slept on Indiana because they had already beat them like three times already. I just think they just was like a little just a step too slow. They were a little off. I just needed to be a little bit more aggressive in their approach in the game. But the Liberty, I've been saying this for a while, they have to be careful um, because you have teams like Indiana, you have teams like the Chicago Sky, you have teams like Dallas Wings, who are not necessarily having a good season this year, but they're still good teams. Last year, Dallas was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Chicago has won a championship. Yeah, they had Candace Parker, they had Courtney Vandersloot, but even with the makeup of the squad they have now, they're a very good team, Chicago. And when you have you know, Angel Reese, you have Carmilla Cardoza, you have what's her name that's on the team? Um so
Kennedy, uh, the girl, Kennedy Clark, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I just feel like, when they play against teams like that, which tomorrow's an early game because it's a camp game, so they let the campers go to the games. So when they in the WNBA when they played early games at like 11, which to me is like a little brutal. But I get it. The kids are in camp. They got to be able to get back in time. So it's an 11 a.m. game. I'm going to be following the sport tomorrow. Um, with early games, you have to come out with energy. It's early. Some people are still not awake or they're not ready to play that early. But I think with the Liberty going against Connecticut Sun, who were tied with the same record as the Liberty, they have to be prepared with energy for tomorrow's game, especially being that it's early. But I think with the Liberty, one of the things that I'm going to be looking at with these next few games is for them to come out and be prepared when you're playing against not just the good teams, but okay, tomorrow's game is against a top seeded team in the league. But then you play a back to back against Chicago on Thursday, and then I believe again on Saturday. And against Chicago, like the Indiana Fever, haven't won a ton of games, but and Chicago's actually better than Indiana. Indiana's just been finding their rhythm and their groove as of late. And again, they didn't do anything spectacular on Saturday when they played against the New York Liberty. But the Liberty can't allow their guard to go down when you're playing against teams who haven't even won at least 5 games or only won 5 games and they've been struggling. When you play against, again, Indiana, Chicago, Dallas, the Los Angeles Sparks, these teams are not having good seasons, but they're still good teams. So for me, the reason why I say the Liberty have to be careful is because you could have a hell of a season this year, as they have been so far. We're about at the midway point of the season. All-Star break is about to come up. They're about to have a month-long break with the Olympics as well. Speaking of the Olympics, that's another thing they have to account for. You don't want to have that break for those of you who are not in the Olympics, and then you come back sluggish. You're not, because you lost, you're out of rhythm compared to when you were playing during the season before the break. But when you get to the playoffs, those teams who don't have a good record, those Indiana Fevers, those Los Angeles Sparks, those Dallas Wings teams that don't have a good season, best believe they're trying to knock the top teams out. And with the Liberty, we've noticed this season where last year in the finals against the Las Vegas Aces, they had one game left to take it to the game 5, I believe it was, and blew it. And then this year, we watched like 2 or 3 games where one of them being a Commissioner's Cup, just sloppiness, turnovers, just not playing themselves, New York Liberty basketball. And that for me is a little bit of a concern when you finish off the remainder of the second half of the season and then going into the playoffs. And I'm not sure what does it take for them to have to click and not have those type of games where they make those type of mistakes. Um, but so far, I like what I'm seeing from this team, considering they ran it back and only brought in like 2, maybe 3 weapons, additional weapons, but they are filled with plenty of players who can give you a little bit of everything. But there's a little bit of a concern for me when it comes to the second half of the season with the Olympics coming up and then with the playoffs. And how does this Liberty team respond? How do you feel about how confident are you with this New York Liberty team with the Olympic break coming up, All-Star break coming up, and then you have the playoffs coming at towards the end, that they can finish off strong despite the breaks, move past the playoffs without giving us a heart attack, get back to the finals, and win the championship this year.
Well, like any other sport or league, you just take it one game at a time. You can't count games that a if that you lost. You can't get those back. It's in the loss column. You can only again improve, and you can't count games ahead of you because you haven't played them. I'm really not concerned because of where they stand. Um, prime example, Indiana, they're young, but they're figuring it out. So same thing like with all these young teams that these rookies. Yeah, they started off slow, but again, as the season progressed, they're figuring it out. And so then that definitely causes the Liberty to again figure it out. They brought their core group back, so that experience is under their belt and they know what it takes. They've been there.
Mm.
So, and they haven't really had any real like game lapse as far as just went on this losing streak. So when it starts becoming a losing streak, or when you win 3, now you lose 2, or possibly 4, that's concerning. So that's why I'm not really concerned at this juncture of the season, because they figure it out. And you know, like I said, Indiana was just like I said, they didn't do anything spectacular, but they they figured it out. And they hit those right, key shots. For whatever reason in Liberty, they just couldn't pull it out. They were up at one point by 11, so
Mhm.
that no lead is safe. They just had a for the most part, although they played this style, I think it was just a bad game overall. They got beat in the field goal percentage,
Mhm.
3-point percentage, so it was just a bad game for them. But it's no reason to panic. The Fever just said, okay, well, we're gonna capitalize, and they hit those key baskets. Um, so they got the better of them. They still are the better team. I think they were 3-1 against the Fever. So I mean, what they would do for one. I mean, I don't care what you say. They would do for when they got that. They earned it earnestly. So that's just something that they can learn from. Um, and look at some film, whatever they need to do, and they're gonna learn from that loss. No need to panic. Again, I'm not concerned because it's they're at the midway point. They one in the standings. Or the tomorrow will I guess kind of shift, or they remain the top seed right now. Um, but just going into like the All-Star break, that's as long as they can stay on that high note, that can help propel them to you know going into now, okay, we passed the halfway mark. Okay, this is what we need to do, and they're gonna definitely map that game plan out. Sandy's gonna map that game plan out, so they can stay on that high, because when you go to hit the Olympics, you know that could help a team lose momentum. It's up to the Liberty to maintain and keep that momentum, and as long as they remain within the standards, I think that's to their advantage. But now, if they go on this losing tear, eh, it kind of put them behind. So it kind of so as long as they could remain high within the standings, especially the All-Star break, the Olympics, because now you got um you know there's a few guys that's going to the Olympics. So if they could just remain with it at or stay above, I'm not concerned. Um, because it can, that'll definitely help propel them, and fuel them, because they, like I said, they brought their core group of guys back. They added some nice pieces. So, and the experience can, definitely, move them, to that end goal, which is the championship.
Yeah, I think with the Liberty, I think they have to. The biggest thing that they have to learn this year is how to overcome finishing off games strong. And they're a good team in that they're resilient, like the Knicks. They know how to crawl back into a lead if they are down. So I never worry about that. But they have to learn how to finish off the game strong and capitalize and get the W.
Yeah.
I think Sandy Brondello does an excellent job calling timeouts when they need to be called.
Hmm.
Like on Saturday, the defense was so lazy from the Liberty that Indiana just was getting easy buckets under the basket because there was a, a huge communication issue and that no one was talking. So JJ was worried about Aaliyah Boston. And then at one point, Benijah was supposed to be guarding whoever else was down low. And she got caught up in the screen. And and it happened a handful of times. And I said, well, I can't in that regard. I understand, yes, if JJ would have went over to guard whoever's man's was loose, but then her Aaliyah Boston would have been open. So you got to pick one sometimes when you the big man down low. But again, it was just the lack of communication on. I don't know what you got to say, yo, woo woo, whatever you got to say to let your player know, like, yo, go over there and I'ma just get whoever's next. And the Liberty do that pretty well, but I don't know why there was such a horrible communication issue on the defensive end. There was a lack of boxing out. I'm not even just talking about under the basket. There was balls flying at the perimeter, and the Liberty would just like either a step too slow, or maybe they thinking, oh, I'm thinking Courtney Vandersloot gonna get in Benijah Watt. Like it just was just like a lack of like communication that I didn't see in that game that you normally don't see. And again, I've heard Sandy say this in a post game conference where she's spoke about the slow starts that the Liberty have had at times, and they have this season. I mean, again, it's something about New York teams. It fizzles from the Knicks over to the Liberty. We've seen the Knicks have several slow start games, And it's just, I think when you don't set the tone early, now you have to work even harder in a game because now a team feels like, oh, well, our energy is there. And yeah, there's 4 quarters, and the basketball is about a game of runs. So the Liberty were able to capitalize in the second and third quarter. But then in the fourth, Indiana, again, they were also, the Liberty were off. Their shots
Oh
wasn't going
yeah.
down, except for Sabrina and Benijah Laney Hamilton. But another thing that kills the Liberty is when Jonquel Jones doesn't get enough touches, they're not winning games. We saw that in the Commissioner's Cup, which that was a mixture of Jonquel getting frustrated, and it was also a mixture of great defense. But on Saturday against Indiana, they weren't guarding Benijah very well, so she could have had her way as she did the past 3 uh, matchups that they had against Indiana. But Jonquel also, and I said this in our last episode, she has this habit of like she gets so frustrated now she's complaining to the referees wanting to call. And I think when you come from like, you're a good playing team, when you're a top team in any sport, a lot of times the whistle's not really in your favor, whether you're at home or not. And on Saturday, she was whining to the ref with the ball, and she caught the rebound. She was mad because Aaliyah Boston fouled her, which she did. And she's complaining to the ref. Aaliyah Boston said, I don't know if this is a movie or we're playing a game of basketball. She tapped the ball at her, but Jonquel Jones's hands, passed it to someone else on Indiana, and they shot a 3. I said, are you kidding me? And Sandy Brondell called the timeout so fast. And I heard you when you said the other day, like maybe, I think it was for Jonquel, you was like, maybe she should have sat her down for a couple of minutes. And I kind of agree with you to some degree because Sandy has done that to Sabrina, where she sat her down to like let her know. And Sabrina even said it in press conferences. She said, yeah, she sat me down. She said, and I didn't appreciate it. But sometimes coaches have to do that to make you realize like what you didn't do or what you did do. So
Yeah.
this way you can have, you know what I mean? Versus you just staying out there and thinking that that's okay. And I think that would have been a teaching moment for Jonquel that, yes,
Yeah.
you're a veteran in the league, but you're costing us a possession. You cost us them getting inching back into that 11-point lead, and it's just unnecessary. Play smart. You're smarter than that. The basketball IQ is there for that. So I just think that the Liberty have they can't allow those collapses to happen like that moving forward. They have to tighten up, be better defensively, be better vocally, be better on the boards. You know what I mean? Just be better overall. And they have to find a way to get Jonquel involved. And I'm gonna tell you something. In tomorrow's game against Connecticut and on the back-to-backs against Chicago, Chicago does an excellent job getting Jonquel out of the game. Angel Reese is gonna frustrate her. She's gonna flop all over the place, and it's gonna be a foul, foul, foul. They're just gonna keep calling fouls on Jonquel. They're gonna keep calling the fouls on Kayla Thornton. They're gonna call the fouls on Kennedy Burke. Because this is what Chicago does. Camila Cardosa and Angel Reese do an excellent job. Just the dramatics, it's there. A lot of times it's not fouls. Angel Reese plays very, I don't even know the word for it, but the way she plays, she just flares her body everywhere. So the refs are like, it looks like a foul, and they blow the whistle. And Alyssa Thomas did a really good job defending. I think she was in charge of defending Brianna Stewart.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
She did
last game.
a job shutting her down the last time. And when Brianna Stewart, which for the life of me, I'm begging her, I know you could shoot the threes, Stewie, but this year is not your year for the threes. They're not going down.
That's why I said like just that game that they played the Fever. They played horrible. They relied on that 3 too much. They got out rebounded so that there's no boxing out. So it was just a horrible game that they played. Um, and I think if there was a lot of things that they could have tightened up and cleaned up, and they would have got that W. But for
Right.
whatever reason, aside from Indiana's, finding their stride, their rhythm, but they were still a beatable team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like you said, Stewie, yeah, she was horrible. She was the more 0 for 5 from 3. And John Crow. And then can we talk about Vandersloot? Like she has to wake up. She's not giving the production that we need from her or that we've seen in the past or what she's capable of.
Hmm.
Um, Five Bench has really stepped in her absence and maybe give her some more playing time. I mean, I don't know what's the answer for that. She Vandersloot needs to wake up and and get into that rhythm. You know, it's crucial that she gets involved.
Well, I noticed her minutes are limited since she's been back. She's
Yeah,
not playing
yeah, I
as
noticed
many
that.
minutes, and I think
Yeah,
Sandy is notices what we're noticing. Like, I'm sure her and the assistant coaches are like, she's not really, she's still coming back
definitely.
from grieving from her mother's passing, and I just don't think that she's at 100%.
Yeah,
I've
but
seen some moments where, she's had a nice block 2 games ago and, a nice couple of steals and things like that. But I just don't think that she's at 100%. So I notice she's not, her minutes are down because they're having Sabrina Ionescu play point guard.
mhm,
And then they have, I think sometimes, you know, Sandy has to go with the matchups depending on who they're playing, right? So some games you see Kayla Thornton in more and Kennedy Burke, and in some games you see Fevesh in more. Where she didn't have as many minutes the last game, which
yeah,
I wasn't really too happy with the way she was playing defense either. It was very lackluster and slow against Caitlin Clark, who doesn't play fast at all. But you can't play slower than somebody who's already playing slow. Um, yeah, I just don't think that hopefully some people who maybe we're looking for a little bit more, maybe after the All-Star break could step it up and turn over a new leaf after that. I'm hoping so. But I do agree that Courtney, we need her, we need Vandersloot to like get back to that old self, that rhythm of a player that she is and what she can bring. Again, she's won a championship. You know what I mean? So she has what it takes, and that's part of the reason why she was brought here to New York. And up until recently, she's been great for them. And she still will be useful here on this team as well. But I just think right now, the one player who I can say who has really like you see the improvement in her game this year is Sabrina. Like her adding that inside game, she I would say
exactly.
so far this season, aside from John Cole and Stewie, Sabrina's keeping them in the games.
She's at the floater to her game too,
Yeah, she got the
which is
floater into
nice.
she's got the mid-range shot, she's driving to the basket. And honestly, that was needed because her just shooting a three, she wasn't a threat. Other
Yeah,
teams was like, oh, she just runs off the curl, she gets a screen. And she was kind of doing a floater, but they weren't knocking down as much last season. But this year, you can see she really worked on that, which is, great. On Saturday, the Liberty put up 42 three-pointers, accounting for over 59% of their tries from the field. Both Benijah Laney Hamilton and Ionescu hit 4 each. The rest of the team was 2 of 19, which is trash. Um, the Liberty also are 2 and 4 when JJ is held under 10 points. She was 2 of 5 for 6 on Saturday. So exactly the point that I was making when JJ is held to under 10 points, the Liberty are not successful.
yeah, it's a problem.
My thing is like we know you could give us 10 plus rebounds, but you're also there to score. You're not a she's not the quickest center, but she's also not just the center who's just I'm gonna just give you rebounds and I'm gonna set screens. Like that's why you were brought here because we know you can give us 10, 15, 20 points on any given night and Carolyn Peck said this one time on one of the halftime segments. And she said if JJ, no, excuse me, it was Cheryl Swoops. She said JJ is capable of giving scoring 20 points a night, 15 to 20 points a night. She said, but for some reason, some games she holds back and she's holding herself back as well as the Liberty. And I agree with that 100%. You need to be giving us at least a minimum 14, 15 points, between 14 and 16 on a minimum every night. Because when you're not effective, first of all, we don't even need you shooting the threes. Yes, she can hit threes, but we don't need the threes from her. But if you can give us a solid, she can knock down free throws. So if you can hit easy buckets under the basket and give us free throws, listen, the Liberty can use that. But when you just, sometimes like Saturday's games, Jonquel's just running up and down the floor.
And she's part of the big three. So that's why it's crucial. You
Yeah,
know, scoring is needed. You're part of a big three. This is, you know, this is why you're here. So there's no reason why you should be given less than minimum. Like you said, I'm gonna go 15. They say 20. I'm gonna go even 15. Give us some grace. And that's giving her a lot of grace at that, you
right.
know?
Yeah, it's
So,
no reason why you should be giving us 6 points, 12, 14 rebounds. Listen, 6 points ain't gonna cut it. 8 points ain't gonna cut it. And also, not for nothing, but I think Benijah Laney Hamilton needs to also step up a bit more too and be more consistent, giving us scoring. Like we know what you could give us defensively, and even on the defense, I've caught her several games where she's gotten beat.
oh yeah, for sure.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's illegal and it doesn't happen in the game of basketball. It happens in NBA and WNBA, but I don't know. And I'm not gonna harp on that too much because her defense is still A1 and she's a very good defensive player and needed on this team for her defensive efforts. But Benijah's another one. You're capable of giving this team 12 to 15 points on a night. And some games you've given us 4, 6 points. That 12 points she scores, that can help contribute because see, the problem is the pressure falls on Sabrina and Brianna to score the bulk of the points. And if Jonquel is knocked out, that's where you need Benijah Laney to come in. Because then you have games where you know Kayla Thornton could give it, but sometimes she don't get the ball enough, if you ask me. I
Yeah.
think she should be fed that ball more because she can knock down the shots. But I really would like to see Benijah Laney contribute and score more for this team because you need more of that. Like when I look down on the roster, Phoebish can give you the points, but sometimes with her, like Courtney Vandersloot, I think this whole Liberty team, they play very unselfish ball. So they like to make that extra pass. And sometimes Phoebish does that. She makes the extra pass. And I'm like, you could have just shot that. Like just take bet on yourself because you can make the shots. But she'll make the extra pass. And like she did that on Saturday, one of the plays, and I was like, you should have taken it. Like you didn't even try to look to attempt to shoot. There was no defender coming near her, nowhere near her. And she said, oh, let me make the extra pass. And at times that's great and it works, but just look for your shot. You know what I mean? So I just think that there's other players who have to step up. Benijah Laney, Kayla Thornton. I mean, even Kennedy Burks. We've seen her explode to the basket and give us an easy, quick bucket. Like I need other people to step in and not put all the pressure on Ionescu and Stewart to have to score all the points, or John Quell, and whoever, a combo of the two or three to have to score all the points. Like we need other people to step up and score because listen, again, when they get to the playoffs, teams are gonna be like, yo, that's all they got. Yeah, they got sprinkles of other players who do something well, but if we shut them down, what the rest of them gonna do?
You know what it is? It's consistencies, especially with Benijah. Like she's too inconsistent.
Hmm.
Um, you know, she has a good game, then there she'll fall back. Like 2 games, she may score 12 or X, Y, and Z point. So, but all around it's consistency with with the whole squad. But with her, um, I think she just needs to just be a little bit more consistent
I
in her
agree.
scoring. Um, and just give more on a night in night out basis. Not that she don't, but it's that's
Offensively.
yeah, offensively. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, offensively, I agree. She definitely needs to be more consistent. It's like, Saturday was a great example of like, see, we know you can give us this, but we need you to give this to us on a night in, night out basis
Yeah.
and not like every 2 to 3 games, and you go quiet. It doesn't help us in the long run. Um, Connecticut have now won their last three. I believe they're this year trying to prove that they should be talked about like a Las Vegas Aces, like the New York Liberty, because they're on a quest to win a championship as well, just like the Liberty are, just like many teams are, but especially
Yeah.
they're right up there, so you can't count them out. And I remember I said to you a few weeks ago, I said, I'm not counting out the Aces just because they have a slow start this season. They won their last 4 or 5 with Chelsea Gray back on the floor.
Yep.
And their owners of throwing out incentives for them to win another one and bring a championship back to Vegas. So they're throwing out more money towards these women and saying, bring another one here and be a three-peat. So I'm not counting them out. They're a very good team. Becky Hammond coaches them very well. Connecticut is coached very well. They have a powerhouse with Dwana Bonner, Alyssa Thomas. Excellent the way they play. They're very aggressive, Connecticut. And then you have the New York Liberty. To me, those would be like your top teams. And then I'll throw in the Seattle Storm. And actually, no, I'm going to say five because I had it at five originally. I have it as the New York Liberty, the Connecticut Sun, the Minnesota Lynx, um, Las Vegas Aces, and the Seattle Storm as the top five teams who those are the five you could see in the possible finals. Any one of those five, those are the five
Yeah.
that to me would be known as okay, one of these five should definitely make it in the finals. There's no reason why you should let those teams that are not having good seasons beat you out in the playoffs. Anything could happen, we know that. But those are like the top five teams in the league who two of those teams are going to be definitely in the finals.
And not just that, after that All-Star break, everybody's gonna make a push for it. It's gonna get turned up a notch.
Hmm.
That's when you're gonna really see the best of the best.
Right,
Because everybody's gonna be trying to make it. Everybody wants to be, the top dog, top seed, or make it for that matter.
right.
So that's when you're gonna see the best of the best. And like you said, the Aces, they've won their last, what, 5 or 6 months since Chelsea came back. You know, the Liberties are right there. They're still winning. They haven't, they still have that momentum. Same thing with Connecticut. The Lynx is, they found their groove. They're in it. Um,
And so does
they're no
Seattle.
swell by the stretch of the imagination. Seattle's, found their footing. So it's just gonna intensify as the season go on.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I the Liberty played Connecticut a few times. They played them tomorrow, and then I believe we play them again the 22nd of August, which is a
Hmm.
Saturday. I think we play them again on
They
that
play them
day.
again the 10th. You talking about Connecticut, right?
Yeah,
And they're gonna play on the 16th, and then again back on August 24th. So and they so far they're 2-0 against Connecticut. So they play 3 more times. Um, you
and that's
know,
another team that's going to be trying to beat them.
exactly. Yeah, because
So this is what I
they're
mean.
in it. They're vying for that first place.
Right.
For the most part. And Connecticut was there until they lost. And and guess who and who did they lose to? Who gave them their first loss? The Liberty.
Hmm.
You
Right.
know, so
They were on a
they're
9-game win streak. Yeah, and then the
yeah,
Liberty handed them that loss.
yep. So they're in there.
Yeah. What are your keys for tomorrow's game, especially because it's the early 11 o'clock a.m. game? Um, what are your keys for the game for the Liberty to win?
Definitely, John Quell has to be a lot more aggressive. Um, you know, not so. I'm not that she's playing passive, but her scoring is key. Like I said, she's part of that three-headed monster that they have. That threat. We definitely need some offense from her. It's badly.
Yeah,
We know Alyssa Thomas is gonna, try to check. You know, the task is gonna be on Stewie. You know, definitely got to, a lot of help defense because she's done a tremendous job on those two times that they played. I
yeah,
mean, she's found, she got Stewie number. So it's definitely key that Stewie, get open, not relying on three. Uh, it'd be nice to see Benijah, she's on track. If she could just, be a lot more aggressive and offensively. We see what she could do defensively, but there's sometimes when she gets beat, but that's okay. Just if she could just give us that, that scoring power offensively. I mean, for Sabrina, she's been consistent, so there's no real, because she's been consistent. Would it be nice to see the bench definitely make more of a contribution? But if those four, for the most part, it's just they get back on track. John Quell, be a lot more aggressive, attacking, that paint, stop relying on the three, you know, um,
yeah,
and the turnovers. I mean, yeah, they had nine, but that's still a lot. Turnovers is key. That leads into to points. So I definitely if they could just minimize, limit their turnovers, and if these guys could just get on track offensively, I think that this game is for theirs to take.
yeah. I agree. You definitely have to get John Quell involved. That means the Liberty have to find a way to get the ball down low to her. I also agree with you. Limit the turnovers. Also, I wish the Liberty would stop forcing passes in the middle that are not there. They have a horrible, horrible bad habit of forcing passes in the lane where they're trying to get it to Brianna Stewart or they're trying to get it to John Cole Jones. And I'm like, as the play is happening before the pass is even like passed, the only person who I see she has better control and instincts before she passes is Courtney Vandersloot. She does a lot of like where she's doing this with the ball, whereas other people they may do the initial hesitation fake and then they'll throw it in the middle. And I'm like, again, I'm watching it and I can see before as you're thinking about passing it down low, you can't. The defense is reading what you want to do, one. And
Exactly.
two, there's a help defender there waiting to swat the ball away. So why do they keep doing that? I don't understand that. And then you turn the ball over, you push yourself a possession. So limit the turnovers. They have to find a way to get the ball down low to John Quell. I don't know if John Cole maybe needs to get hot from a couple of threes if she's not able to get the ball down low. But either way, they have to figure out a way to get her the ball down in the paint. The Liberty needs a box out, grab rebounds because it amazes me how Dewana Bonner is sticks. One big bag of sticks. And she's able to do what she wants out there. I'm like, she's tiny. What is going on? Y'all letting a bag of sticks.
Put a body on her.
Yeah. I'm like, most of y'all are stronger than her. She's a branch, a tree branch, a little stick. The little sticks the dogs put in their mouth, that's her body. And I'm like, you gotta put a body on someone and guard her. She's a twig. And you just letting her out there. She driving to the basket, doing reverses. And I'm like, really, John Paul? Really, Benija? Y'all are stronger than her. Courtney Vandersloot is stronger than her. Why are you letting her have her way?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brianna Stewart has to get involved early. I don't want to see you come alive in the third and fourth quarter, which she does well, and she's able to stop the clock. I hope other people that needs to become infectious. Other players on the Liberty need to go, okay, let's stop the clock, put points on the board. Again, I really don't have no major critiques for Sabrina. She played a hell of a game 2, 3 games ago. She was sick as a dog and still said I'm gonna play in the game.
Oh, yeah.
She had a hell of a game and played well. And you wouldn't have thought she was sick, but every time she went to the bench, you could see she was sick. She had the towel over her. She was trying to, they kept giving her Gatorade to drink. The press conference didn't have a voice. But I just need the Liberty to play smarter, not harder. Don't take for granted the fact that you've already beat Connecticut twice. Twice already, and think that they are not going to beat you because they want to beat the Liberty already. And then I need the Liberty to be prepared because they're playing on a back to back. So they're playing Wednesday and then they're playing right back again on Thursday against Chicago.
Hello.
And Chicago, listen, they're a good team. I like what I'm seeing from them. They haven't won a lot of games. Again, they're well coached. Teaspoon is a good coach. I think Teaspoon is going to be a better coach and have a head coaching position longer than Vicky Johnson had.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
So, and then it's funny because Atlanta has Tanisha Wright, who used to be on the Liberty as their head coach. I don't know. Things don't shake up there. She may be out.
Yeah,
WNBA is like the NBA. When teams are not winning, you're out of here.
yeah, if you don't respond, yeah, you're out.
You're out of here. Right. So Christy Sides got it together. She was about to be out of there too.
Oh, yeah.
If your team is not winning, at some point, organization's gonna look at the coach like, well, maybe it's you. So Sandy was brought here because they know what she could do. And clearly, it shows, not just on what's on paper, shows and reflects with the team, right? But the New York Liberty, I don't want them to get into a slump, like you said, where there's a point of inconsistency where you win a one or two and then you lose three. I don't see that happening with this team. I really truly believe this Liberty team has a chip on their shoulder, like the New York Knicks. And hell, they even got further than the Knicks, and that they got to the finals last year. That's not easy to do. And they can get back there again this year. But those couple of few handful of sloppy games we've seen this year, turnovers, 15, 25 turnovers, not communicating. I'm throwing a ball and then the other person's moving and you're looking at them like, oh, I thought you were standing there. No, because y'all not talking. Don't y'all practice? I heard one of the commentators say like a game or two ago that they was interviewing Phoebish and she said the Liberty haven't practiced a lot. But y'all practice. May not have been a lot, but y'all practice. So that's what they were saying. I know the Liberty did have one of the tougher schedules at the start of the season, which is fine. I'd rather it be like that. Give them a tough schedule. But like you said, it's only going to get tougher after All-Star break. And, with the Olympics going on, that's like the All-Star is a mini break, but then the Olympics is a whole month-long break. So, that momentum just needs to be there. That hunger needs to be there to win a championship and bring it here to New York.
Yeah, and I just want to make a point with Chicago and the coach. You got to also the fact that Teaspoon, she's an Olympian and she was an assistant at for the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So she like Hammond. when you're when you're an assistant under the tutelage of a winning coach, or just you know uh, NBA team, you see it from that perspective, and then you can bring that to your team. It's a similar style anyway, and that's a way for, I guess, the players to respond to you in a certain way. She'll definitely have, I believe she'll have some longevity, because you got to realize Chicago is a young team, and they're only going to get better. You
Exactly.
know, they will get better as the season and the years progress. So I just want to just throw that out there.
Yeah, and Chicago also, when Candace Parker was there and Courtney Vandersloot, they brought a championship there. So,
Yes,
they're a young rebuilding
that.
team. I think they have the pieces in place of what they want. And I agree with you with Teaspoon having that coaching experience in the NBA, like Becky Hammond. You translate that over to the WNBA, and that's an advantage that you have. Bringing that NBA coaching experience over to the WNBA and to have it with your own team. Um, but yeah, I think that right now the Liberty are in a good place. They have to have high energy tomorrow. The slow starts, there's no time for that, and they just have to be ready. Have to be ready to respond, as a lot of teams want to knock them out. I think a lot of teams in the league, not even necessarily like the sports media world, but like a lot of other WNBA teams don't really think that the Liberty are good. So I think
Oh
the
yeah.
Liberty have to prove themselves that like we are a good team. I mean, you hear certain players say that when they in their press conference, post game press conferences, and they're like, "Oh, they're a really good team, so we got to be ready." Or right before they do that mini interview, right before they go to the locker room for halftime. But I don't think that a lot of teams feel like the Liberty are as good, and they feel like they got to the finals because that was the narrative of what the league wanted last year. And I'm sure if Indiana was a good team, they would be pinning them to go to the finals. But I think this year, again, it's between those five teams that I named that one of those, out of those five teams, those are the top two of them are going to be making it to the finals. Salute to Paris Jugger. He said all the teams are so paranoid of Caitlyn getting open threes that it opens passing lanes and shots for players. They need to just let Caitlyn get her 25 and stop the others. Yeah, I mean, you can have great defense, but you're going to have players with just better offense. And it's just hard to stop her. And what Caitlyn has to her game, she's able to create space for herself. She has this great, where I know Brianna Stewart has added this to her game more, and she practices it before the game starts. And she was telling one of the sports writers how she wanted to add to her game this year, being able to go with full speed and then slow down. And as a player, when you can do that, that's very dangerous because the defense can't keep up with you because you going
Yeah.
so quick. And then when you're able to stop and go at your pace,
Mhm.
now you create space because you all made the defender back up off of you. And Caitlin does that really well. She doesn't move very slow, but she'll come down the court. She'll do a quick move. The defense backs up, or she'll do a quick little crossover, and then she does that Euro back step that she does, and then she's able to get off the shot that she wants. And you have to respect it. So nonetheless, she has defenders on the balls of their feet, being ready to defend her. But yeah, I you have the Liberty at 3-0. I have them at 3-1. I know I should be more optimistic, but you know, I just want them to just get back to that momentum of winning, capitalizing on
Yeah,
winning.
at 2-1 or 3-1, because I know they do back to back. They got Connecticut, and they do the Sky back to back. Then they have Connecticut again. So
So you got them 4-0.
well, no, because actually they don't play Connecticut again until I think
Yeah, I think it's the week after.
yeah. So I have them 3-0. Yes, I do. I
Yeah, I
think they're
got.
gonna figure out Chicago's number, and
They have to.
yeah,
Chicago's one of those teams that the Liberty haven't really been able to figure out except for once so far. So Chicago is very confident playing against the
sure,
Liberty.
as they
Like,
should be.
very confident. So I got them at 2-1. I would like to see them definitely take Connecticut, and if they can get Chicago both times, that would be great. But I think the problem is they can't allow Chicago to. Chicago plays with high speed. Kennedy, she's super quick, and I don't know why the Liberty can't, for some reason, guard her. She's always loose like a mouse, and I'm like,
Mhm.
why is nobody guarding her? She just drives to the basket. I understand the last two matchups, just get into the basket, do what she wants. So yeah, I got them at 2-1, and we'll see what happens from there.
Right, that's fair.
Shout out to the chat for joining us, Walter Blackman, Mr. C. Haven't seen you here before, but salute. Paula Bonner, who's been joining us a lot lately, salute to you. Wonder Woman, always showing love, salute. AP same. So hit those like
Salute.
buttons. And Paris Jugger, always showing love as well. And those of you who are watching live and not in the chat, salute to you as well. Those of you who want a replay game, salute to you as well. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Our summer schedule, we come on every Tuesday at 6:30 and on Sundays at 10:30 in the morning. We talk all things New York Knicks, all things New York Liberty. And then during NBA season, we're on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays, where we talk all things New York Knicks. And this channel, we also talk all things New York Liberty here. So stay tuned for us. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. It helps push our channel out on the YouTube algorithm so people can find us. And yeah, anything else from you before we get out of here?
Now let's go Liberty. And
Yes,
October, hurry up.
she can't wait for the next. But yeah, until next time, everybody, have a good